Heat 1 of 26 for event 15, the men's 50-meter breaststroke. Swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. Lane 1 from St. Louis area, John Pullman. Lane 2, one of the young bucks in this race at 80 years young from Grand Strand, Robert List. Lane 3 from Tamplepace Aquatic, Ed Reed. Lane 4, the other young buck at 80 from Husson family, Bob Husson. Lane 5, our patriarch at one of our patriarchs at 90, Jack Fleming. Lane 6, our actual patriarch from Arizona Masters at 92, Jack Fritz. Lane 7 from Puget Sound, Ronald Jones. And in lane 8 from Tamplepace, James Zur. This is Jack Fritz, 92. Let's cheer Jack on here in lane 6. For those of you in the stands, fun fact about breaststroke, it's the only stroke they can actually hear you cheering during the race. So every time their head comes up, you should be yelling. Nice job, Jack. Hold on. It's a 50, Jack. He was ready to do 100 for us. Now we can do heat 2 for the men's 50-meter breaststroke. Swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. In lane 1 from Marcia's, Tom Sears. Lane 2 from UC 38, Dennis Clancy. Lane 3 from Oregon Masters, Larry Wright. Lane 4 from Minnesota Masters, Gary Fine. Lane 5 from Tamplepace, Rick Meyerhoff. Lane 6 from Puget Sound, Jeffrey Anderson. And in lane 7, the patriarch in this heat at 79 years young from Ventura County, Robert Owens. We got a race here. This is Larry in 3 and Dennis in 2. And it is going to be Larry Wright. First to touch the wall, unofficial time of 47:21. Heat 3, swimmers behind your blocks. Mr. Referee. Lane 1 from Tennessee Aquatics, John McCord. Lane 2 from Team Texas, Rick Ravel. Lane 3 from Iowa Masters, Robert White. Lane 4 from Movi Masters, Robert Wright. Lane 5 from St. Louis, Clay Kohler. Lane 6 from Oregon, Alan Stark. Lane 7 from Puget Sound, Steve Peterson. And in lane 8 from St. Louis, Dave Wisland. Robert Wright is trying to go at 38. Let's see if he can do it. And he did! Unofficially, that will be a new world record. Congratulations, Robert. Heat 4 of 26. Swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. Lane 1 from UC 35, Jesse Mackius. Lane 2 from UC 35, William Wilson. Lane 3 from Tri-City Atomic Sturgeons, Roman Piper. Must be out of Hanford. Lane 4 from Wisconsin Masters, James Donnellan. Lane 5 from Puget Sound, Ken Bennett. Lane 6 from Reston Masters, Rob Stites. Lane 7 from Husson Family, it is Timothy Husson. And in lane 8 from Costa Rica Tennis, Ruben Akon. And that is James, unofficial time of 42:89. It's a nice second and a half drop. Hold up. That is Jesse in lane 1. Let's cheer him on. Heat 5, swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. Lane 1 from UC 38, John Nakamura. Lane 2 from Puget Sound, Jeffrey Morrison. Lane 3 from Sacramento Masters, Jeff Shevlin. Lane 4 from Los Angeles, Greg Hayes. Lane 5 from Puget Sound, Greg Walsh. Lane 6 from Excel, Zvi Aluma. Lane 7 from Puget Sound, Stephen Lewis. And in lane 8 from Costa Rica Tennis, Carl Uloa. Fantastic swim there from Greg Hayes. Unofficial time, a 38.90. Heat 6 of 26 for event 15, the men's 50-meter breaststroke. Swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. My apologies, Madam Referee. Lane 1 from Menlo, Bob Anderson. Lane 2 from Arizona, Bernard Sauve. Lane 3 from Ventura, Michael Blatt. Lane 4 from Conejo Valley, Richard Scoggins. Lane 5 from Puget Sound, Bill Krieger. Lane 6 from Penguin Swim Club, Gary Swenner. Lane 7 from Oregon, Mike Tennant. And in lane 8 from Oregon, Steve Mann. And Michael Blatt, lane 3, unofficial time at 38.83. Heat 7, swimmers behind your blocks, Madam Referee. Lane 1 from South Lake Tahoe, Michael Amaya. Lane 2 from Spokane Club, Robert Heath. Lane 3 from Penguins, Peter Levikow. Lane 4 from Sarasota, Jim Matisek. Lane 5 from Swim Fort Lauderdale, Mark Richards. Lane 6 from Swim Fort Lauderdale, Will Douglas. Lane 7 from Conejo Valley, Keith Robinson. And in lane 8 from Lone Star, Lex Pegues. That is Peter in lane 3, unofficial time of 38.07. Nice 2-second drop. Heat 8, swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. Lanes 4 and 5 are both going after the record of a 33.30. Lane 1, Michael Ham. Lane 2, Michael Bergman. Lane 3, David Lindstedt. Lane 4, James Kochendorfer. Lane 5, Richard Neville. Lane 6, Carl Haney. Lane 7, Michael Slowey. And in lane 8, Richard Howell. Again, lane 4, he is looking for a 33.30. And we got an unofficial time of 34.21. Congratulations, James. Heat 9, swimmers behind your blocks, Madam Referee. Lane 1, Carl Blakesley. Lane 2, Robert Young. Lane 3, Gerald Cermak. Lane 4, Brent Washburn. Lane 5, Glenn Yates. Lane 6, Jerry Magner. Lane 7, Jeffrey Magner. And in lane 8, Raymond Billings. And lane 3, first to touch the wall, unofficial time at 38:70. Congratulations, Gerald. This is heat 10 of 26 for event 15, the men's 50-meter breaststroke. And a quick happy birthday to lane 7. Thank you for spending your birthday with us. Swimmers behind your blocks, Madam Referee. Lane 1, Daniel Smith. Lane 2, Thomas Melger. Lane 3, Tim Miller. Lane 4, Jim Tuckler. Lane 5, Brian Hasagawa. Lane 6, Thomas Hilgen. Lane 7, our birthday boy, Thomas Woods. And in lane 8, Pedro Correa Marrero. Jim's trying to go unofficial time at 32:57. Right on your time, Jim. Nice swim. Heat 11, swimmers behind your blocks, Madam Referee. Lane 1, Thomas Jones. Lane 2, Russell Walter. Lane 3, Russell Walter. Lane 4, Brad Schenfeld. Lane 5, Jason Riddle. Lane 6, Matt Castle. And lane 7, Scott Summers. First touch the wall, that is Brad Schenfeld, lane 4, unofficial time at 35:02. Nice second and a half drop. Congratulations to the swimmer from the UCLA Bruin Masters. This is heat 12 of 26. Swimmers behind your blocks, Madam Referee. Lane 1, Ed Coates. Lane 2, Mark Lowney. Lane 3, Brent Barnes. Lane 4, David Scott. Lane 5, Darren Lindig. Lane 6, Brad Harmon. Lane 7, Reagan Pelton. And in lane 8, Carrie Ness. First touch the wall, lane 2, that's Mark Lowney, unofficial time at 38:01. Congratulations, Swim Kentucky. Heat 13, swimmers behind your blocks, Madam Referee. Lane 1, Andy Krupa. Lane 2, David McCallum. Lane 3, Chuck Graff. Lane 4, Abraham Solano. Lane 5, Neil Williams. Lane 6, Kevin Esco. Lane 7, Tim Wad. And in lane 8, Rodney Colella. And it is going to be Abraham Solano, unofficial time at 33:27. Heat 14. Swimmers behind your blocks. Madam Referee.
I think that was the whistle.
Lane 1, Dominic Mastracchio. Lane 2, Devin Petrzak. Lane 3, Keith Hill. Lane 4, Kurt Grote. Lane 5, Carlos Sanchez. Lane 6, Tony Rezick. Lane 7, Chad Steed. And in lane 8, Ryan Lee. And it's going to be Kurt, unofficial time, a 30:96. Nice time drop. Heat 15, swimmers behind your blocks. Mr. Referee. Lane 1, Rodriguez Arietta. Lane 2, Lee Graber. Lane 3, Jeffrey Marsden. Lane 4, Sandy Bloomberg. Lane 5, Jaeseon Kim. Lane 6, Chad Salas. Lane 7, Oleg Mustiaza. And first touch of the wall is going to be, I believe, oh, it was Sandy Bloomberg lane. Nope, it was Chad in lane 6. A little bit of lag. Unofficial time at 37:73. That was a nice time drop there, Chad. Heat 16 of 26 for event 15, the men's 50-meter breaststroke. Swimmers behind your blocks. Mr. Referee. Lane 1, Manuel Campos. Lane 2, Brian Ragsdale. Lane 3, Vadim Weinbrand. Lane 4, Barry Garland. Lane 5, Blake Holden. Lane 6, Oscar Bermudez. Lane 7, Eric Bean. And in lane 8, Thomas Hirschmiller. Got a race here in the middle of the pool. And Blake Holden, unofficial time, a 30:60. Heat 17, swimmers behind your blocks. Mr. Referee. Lane 1, Michael Torres. Lane 2, Tommy Cunningham. Lane 3, Josvanis Lemus Santo. Lane 4, Kenny Chang. Lane 5, Adam Johnson. Lane 6, Eric Peterson. And in lane 7, Chad Cannon. And Tommy Cunningham, unofficial time at 32:68. Heat 18 of 26, swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. Lane 1, Travis Rothway. Lane 2, Justin Neiman. Lane 3, Michael Steinfeld. Lane 4, Joe McClellan. Lane 5, Brandon Nadel. Lane 6, Charles Geist. Lane 7, Jonathan Banks. And in lane 8, Kevin Cleary. First to touch, lane 3, unofficial time, 35:26. Heat 19. Swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. Lane 1, Nicholas Eckelbarger. Lane 2, C.G. Jung. Lane 3, Cornelius Qualley. Lane 4, Christian Vanderkee. Lane 5, Kyle Deary. Lane 6, Calvin Schildknecht. Lane 7, Serdan Markovic. And in lane 8, Andy Fillmore. There's a race right here between Kyle and Christian. First to touch the wall is going to be Kyle, unofficial time, a 30:96. Heat 20, swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. Lane 1, Kevin Jones. Lane 2, Brian O'Connor. Lane 3, Chandler Thomas. Lane 4, Brandon Fisher. Lane 5, Kisuki Yagi. Lane 6, Jeffrey Vivo. Lane 7, James McLean. And in lane 8, Zachary Divelbus. And it's Brandon Fisher, unofficial time, 28:32. Congratulations to the swimmer from Tri-Valley Aquatics. He was seated with a 27:36. Heat 21, swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. Brandon did get his own national U.S. Masters swim record on that last heat, so congratulations, Brandon. Lane 1, Jingbo Meng. Lane 2, Matthew Ramirez. Lane 3, Wooter Hugo. Lane 4, Yu Shen Gu. Lane 5, Josue Olade. Lane 6, Esteban Hernandez. Lane 7, Will Zhao. And lane 8, Jacob Yang. First to touch, Will Zhao, unofficial time at 32:44. Heat 22, swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. Lane 1, Timur Rakimov. Lane 2, Eric Shee. Lane 3, Ryan Wolf. Lane 4, Travis Greenwald. Lane 5, Nikita Semenov. Lane 6, Matthew Costigan. Lane 7, Ruben Guerrero. And in lane 8, Roy Chen. First to touch, lane 6, unofficial time, 29:94. Congratulations to Matthew. Heat 23, swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. Lane 1, Martin Wu. Lane 2, Kevin Dang. Lane 3, Jensen Judkins. Lane 4, Lawrence Quinney Tolentino. Lane 5, Vladimir Ladigan. Lane 6, Ethan Ng. Lane 7, Kyle Millis. Lane 8, Mason Izadpana. And it's going to be lane 2, unofficial time, 32:29. That's Kevin Dang. Heat 24 of 26. Swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. This is going to be final call for Heat 1 of Event 16, the women's 50-meter breaststroke. Lane 1, Everett Palchek. Lane 2, Nicola Delicate. Lane 3, Hank Pop. Lane 4, Justin Winnett. Lane 5, Adam Chiefitz. Lane 6, James Donnellan. Lane 7, Jonathan Cook. And in lane 8, Daniel Chang. That's going to be lane 4, Justin Winnett, unofficial time, 27:85. You just missed the record, but that was a great swim. Heat 25, swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. Lane 1, Sam Chen. Lane 2, Samuel Haro. Lane 3, Benjamin Kono. Lane 4, Nolan Jenks. Lane 5, Connor Swaney. Lane 6, Caden Desmaris. And in lane 7, Colton Martin. Lane 4, that is Nolan Jenks. He's going to touch with an unofficial time of 31:53. And this is Heat 26 of 26 for Event 15, the men's 50-meter breaststroke. Swimmers behind your blocks, Mr. Referee. Lane 1, Ian Franklin. Lane 2, Luke Cornwell Arquette. Lane 3, Ian Neville. Lane 4, Max Eulenhofer. Lane 5, Brendan Strangeland. Lane 6, Keegan Listenby. And in lane 8, Ezra Billings. And it's going to be... that was a tie between Ian and Brendan, unofficial time of 30:82. Nice swim, guys.